And good morning, folks. Good to have you join us today. Happy that you're here. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Speaking of my neighbor, good morning, Todd.
Good morning.
We're neighbors about 30 minutes away, but
yes,
there we
yes, we
go.
are.
Yes. And
good
thank
morning
you,
to you.
family, for joining us this morning. All of you that are logging in. Don't forget, let us know where you're from. And Todd, what other important question should we ask this morning? It's got to be something besides just where you're from. How about, what is your favorite breakfast cereal?
I was just going to say that.
Were you?
I was.
and where did we get that from, Jim Liberty?
Yes.
That's where it came from.
That's right.
So, yeah, Jim, whenever we used to have guests stand up and introduce themselves, Jim always used to make them tell us what their favorite breakfast cereal was.
Yeah, that was his go-to.
It was his go-to. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, log in, tell us where you're from and your favorite well, not everybody eats cereal. Your favorite breakfast. There you go.
So Jamie
Todd,
said oatmeal.
What is yours?
What exactly what Jamie Chris said oatmeal, and that's exactly what I had this morning was oatmeal.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, that or I usually do eggs and a couple of eggs, maybe a piece of toast on occasion. But those are usually my go-to. Now, when I do, when I cook on the grill in the morning, then it's pancakes, bacon, but it's got to be like whole wheat pancakes, bacon, and eggs. And sometimes I throw in some sauteed stuff in with the eggs. I love it. Yeah.
You're a sauteer.
That's on the Blackstone flat top. Yes.
Yes. Which is the grill of your dreams?
Yes, it is. Yes, we just picked one up for Sanctuary to do for Sanctuary on our Saturday events. Awesome. Yes.
Good. Well, we're going to be cooking in style. Jamie's going to be cooking in style.
That's right.
Absolutely. That's right. Good morning, Raven. Thank you for joining us today. And folks, once again, as you're joining us, let us know where you're from. Let us know your favorite thing to eat for breakfast. David is here with us. He says, good morning, Metal family from Virginia. All right.
Yeah.
And Barry, our good friend Barry, he says, good morning, Pastor Bob and the Sanctuary family, and Greg MINIER. By the way, Greg MINIER is about to join us at mid-show. And Greg, you remember, is from, originally The Crucified. There he is. Originally The Crucified, and he has a brand new album out called Applehead. It's his 30-year anniversary album of Applehead. Man, it doesn't seem like that many years. But Applehead was the project he did after Crucified, and lo and behold, a new album. So we're going to talk about that with Greg when he comes on with us, and excited to get the skivvy on that. That'll be exciting.
Yes.
Very.
What's interesting is the past few mornings I've been going onto YouTube and Googling like the top 40 Christian worship songs of like 1982, 1983, pre-metal. yeah, pre-metal. Wow. So, because that's when I came to know the Lord in 81. So, that's kind of my timeline right in there of Christian music and that kind of stuff, pre-metal. And so as I play it, my wife's hearing it in the other room. She's like, where did you get that playlist? Like, I just Googled it. You can do the top 40 whenever. So, yeah, interesting sounds.
And
a lot of people you probably know about.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try that. Now, Sanctuary Praise would come on a couple years after that, and I hope they have that in a playlist. That would be good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of starting from year to year and just kind of seeing what's in there.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So David is here with us this morning, a good friend of the ministries. He said good morning, and good morning to Greg when he gets here. He says, how are you doing this fine morning? Doing good. Todd, you're doing well too.
Yep, I'm doing great. Doing great.
Doing
yeah.
Skippy. Doing Skippy.
Yes. Getting ready for tomorrow. Got a big day tomorrow.
My good friend Dorothy Owens is here this morning. She says good morning. And Jamie is here. Good morning from Washington State. And you know, it's exciting to see how many people log in from so many different places. You know, and Barry is saying hello to you, Todd.
Hey, good morning, Barry. Good to see you, buddy.
It'd be good to see you today, my old friend. He is the most consistent. He's a good guy. And I miss seeing you this summer, by the way. Reba, good morning, Pastor Bob and Greg and Todd. Where?
The neighbor. The neighbor. I'm not sure which way I'm supposed to point.
It's everything's backwards on the screen, so I'm not getting it right. So Brian is joining us this morning. Brian is a good friend of the ministry. And good guy, and they drive a little ways to get here for our big event. And Todd, talk about the big event for just a minute.
Yeah. So Brian, it's good to see you this morning, buddy, and Barry, all you guys, fantastic, great to see you. So the big event is our Saturday event. We didn't have one in September because of Immortal Fest, but the next one, there it is, right there, is October 7th. And that rolls over into Sunday the 8th. And so what that is, we start at 3:00 on Saturday. We do a barbecue, and we usually eat together for probably a good hour and a half. And then the sanctuary worship team will come on, and they will do, 4 or 5 songs, some sanctuary worship. And then, of course, Pastor Bob will come on after that, and he talk for probably 20 minutes or so, something like that. Just some things that are on your heart that you share with us. Mm-hmm. Always a great time. And Bob always does and outdoes his best sermon ever. So you always want to be there.
According to Jim. Yeah.
Right.
Jim always introduces me and says, and now Pastor Bob will do his best sermon ever. And it's like, okay, the pressure's on, right?
And that is stuck. It's stuck. It's there.
And he's done that for decades.
Yeah. And then we just fellowship the rest of the night. And they could go into, well into the evening, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night sometimes, where folks are just hanging out and just having a good time. So everybody is welcome. You are all welcome. And I have no idea how to get in touch with Jim on here to send that out to everybody so people can find. Okay, there it is. Yeah,
it's right there. Actually, it's jimliberty@gmail.com.
Yeah,
and,
there you go.
Yeah. So Eric Smith is here today. Good to see you, Eric. Thank you for joining us from Detroit, the Motor City. So and then Sunday.
Yes.
Another really great day of a little more teaching, a little more intense fellowship, all of that. So it's a good weekend.
It is a great weekend, great time of fellowship and connecting, man. It is fantastic. You want to fill up your tank, come to a sanctuary event. It is fantastic that weekend. So October 7th.
Todd, and one of the cool things too is that, yes, we do have Headbangers Brew coffee on tap. So
yes, we do.
Come wherever you're coming from. If nothing else, come for the coffee.
Joe Mama will be on tap.
Yeah, Joe Mama. That's what I'm drinking right now.
Yeah.
Joe Mama.
In fact,
and just in case I run out with that, I've got my sanctuary flask here, and it's full also. Because you never want to run out of coffee.
No.
Oh my God!
And the coffee is actually right there to the right. The right shot of your shoulders, right behind you.
and I see the Joe Mama right here, and
yeah,
yes,
we're
it's
ready.
a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you're joining us today, sign in. Let us know where you're from and what you like to eat for breakfast. And Jamie's along with you today. He likes oatmeal for breakfast. There you go. Oatmeal for breakfast. I think a lot of people kind of have that same thing. Rodney is here from Australia. Our good friend Rodney. Good to see you today. We have quite a few friends from down under, Todd, and so glad that you guys are joining us. He says, "How is everyone?" You have to let us know. Angela is here this morning. He says, "I believe you may know Christopare. I played with them in Athens, Georgia at a festival." Well, that's awesome. By the way, Mark, his brother's name is Greg. Mark Moore, the singer for Christopare, is a sanctuary pastor. We do know them pretty well, don't we?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. In fact, when they first played at Sanctuary years ago, I'm pretty sure they were the first standing ovation of Sanctuary. Yes. Was Christopare.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. A non-metal band and hundreds of metalheads gave them a standing ovation.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Ray is here this morning. Good morning to you. Folks, if you're joining us, let us know where you're from and let us know what you like to eat for breakfast. Why? We have no idea. We're just throwing out a random question. Inquiring minds want to know. Kara, our good friend, is here. I'm hoping to be back down soon. We're hoping that too. She came down with her family a couple months ago, Todd, and visited me. And she has a very large family and homeschools. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Got a few more people chiming in here, so that's good.
Peter is here, good friend from Tampa, Florida. It's beginning to cool down a little bit in Tampa, isn't it, Peter? You guys have had a really hot summer there. Of course, we have too, but hotter there. Hotter than heck down there. Really. Austin is here. Now, Austin has biscuits. That's how you say it in Tennessee. It's biscuits. Biscuits and gravy with bacon is a go-to. To anyone who has not made it down for a weekend yet, plan ahead in time to make the trip. There you go. And he does every time. Yes. The Lord has blessed these guys with an amazing space, and you will leave filled with happiness, and the Holy Spirit will bless you. Austin, thank you. Yeah. And I'm sitting in the building right now where we have the weekend experience, and love to have you come. Christopher Keene, one of the guys from the Sanctuary staff, awesome guy. Egg omelet with pepper jack, onions, green peppers, and spicy bacon, side of wheat toast. He's making me hungry, Todd.
I was just going to say that, Chris, you went way. That's awesome. I love that. That sounds like a great breakfast to me.
It totally is.
Yeah.
So Todd, we kind of have a big event for the ministry tomorrow. We're just hooking up with a company that's about to supply us even more food. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yes, that's what I was saying earlier. I'm getting ready for tomorrow. So exciting stuff. I mean, just really exciting stuff. So currently we've been getting, we pick up from Trader Joe's to bring food into the storehouse so that we can turn around, of course, give that out. And that has been going on for several years. Well, we've just added, or we're able to be added to Feed America. Now, Feed America is going to be giving us one time a month 1,500 pounds of food, and it starts tomorrow. So I've never done this before with Feed America. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how, other than lining the vehicle up and driving through a line, how it actually is structured. But we're going to be picking up at least 1,500 pounds of food, and maybe more. And so we pick that up tomorrow morning at about 7:30. And then we'll take that and head it on over to the storehouse and unload it. And it'll be a mixture of frozen, refrigerated, and non-perishable stuff. So that's pretty exciting. And I think that with our addition with the families that we're feeding, that they adopt kids that have been trafficked, as well as a shelter for ladies that have, it's in a lady shelter that have kids. So we're excited to be able to bring some food and bless their lives. And it is incredible to see and watch and hear the stories back. It's amazing. In fact, I think what I want to do is I want to start publishing the things the feedback that we get from these guys, because I think it'd be good for everybody to know and see, what kind of an impact it has on their life, because it's really amazing. When you're doing the day-to-day of picking up food, bringing it in and separating it and stuff like that, you're not really thinking about the end result necessarily during that process. You're thinking about, what is everybody getting? Are they getting a good amount? Are they getting a good mixture and that kind of stuff? And that's the the details of what goes into that side of the ministry. But as that comes together and as that, packages up, when you hand it out, it's, we hand out, but we also want to spend time with these guys as well. And then we hand it out, they'll take it home and they'll give us feedback. And then we want to turn around and call them, which we've been doing, and ask them, what can we pray for you guys about? What can we do to minister to you and your family and that kind of thing? So, those are things that I think would be good for letting folks know what that looks like, and not just seeing the blessings of it in the storehouse, but outside of that. So I'm going to work on that. I'll work on getting that messaged out to you guys so you can see that more. And that'll probably be on the gathering page, Sanctuary Gathering page, and the metrics, Sanctuary Metrics page. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
It is good stuff. Morning.
Yeah.
Very exciting. And this, actually, the amount could increase as we go, depending on what the needs are. But folks, during this time when, I don't know if you've noticed, but what you have to pay at the grocery store these days is a crime. It really is. Most things in the period of 5 years have doubled in price.
Yeah.
A lot of things. And we just don't realize how big inflation is. Do you know that inflation is higher right now than it was during the Deep Depression of the 30s? It's higher. People have less money. When you look at the average income and what they spent for their home, for their car, for all those things, the percentages are much higher according to income right now. And even though obviously people are making more money than they did in 1930, in the 30s, during the Depression, there's still, the percentages that go to just those basic things take the whole paycheck. So this is a really tough time for people. And Todd, we're not just feeding people on the streets. We realize that there are tons of marginalized people out there that really need help. There are people that have a roof over their heads, but they can't afford food and the roof. And a lot of them will go back onto the streets just so they can afford food. It's a tricky thing. Yeah. So what we do becomes more and more important, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And you don't realize how much it impacts people until they get back to you. Because, we weren't getting feedback before. We weren't getting the details of things of how it's been with folks. And then they respond back and it's like, it's amazing. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited about this. We've prepared the freezer, we've prepared the fridge, we've prepared the racks on the side of the building, inside the storehouse for the non-perishables and those kind of things. So I feel like we're ready for a good day tomorrow. And I've got Justin that's going to help out. I've got my son Michael, who's going to help load up, and I've got, of course, Jake at the storehouse. He stays there and invaluable. So good stuff. We're ready for tomorrow.
We have a good team. Yes.
Yes, we do.
We have a great team. And Jim Liberty is living here right now too. Now Jim has sold his old house and he hasn't bought a new house yet. So he's living with his son Hunter in a motorhome. And they've parked here for a week. It's kind of nice to have him around. But, make him earn his keep tomorrow.
Yes, I'm going to knock on his door at like 8 in the morning. Yeah. Okay, Jim.
Good. Time to unload. Yes,
that's
absolutely. Right. And, Jim and Hunter work out with Justin. Justin's my nephew, by the way. He works here as well. And Hunter works out with them every single day, and Jim joins them a lot. So we got to put those muscles to work.
Yes. At 8 in the morning.
Yeah, at 8 in the morning. That's right.
1,500 pounds.
Michael Goebel, our good friend, is here today. Shout out from West Chicago. And you are finding us well, Michael. Thank you. Great. Yeah. Well, Todd, last night we had just the greatest time with a coalition of food supplier ministries. And, some of you might remember Eric Tutabene from the Sanctuary Church in California and now Tennessee. We moved here at the same time. And Eric had done a great job in putting together a whole bunch of ministries that supply food to other ministries, basically. And we had a whole bunch of them. And we just get together to tell praise stories, to tell success stories, all the cool things that God's doing. And then trading things, like somebody might say, I have 20 pallets of cabbage. How many would you like? That kind of stuff. And we actually have an email list where everybody's on it. And if somebody has an overabundance of something, they say, come on and pick this up or that up. And so it's kind of a coalition. But we have this get together twice a year. We had it last night, and just such a really, really great time with everybody. Amazing stories. Amazing stories.
Great people. I mean, great
yes.
people.
They really are great people. Yes, absolutely. You mentioned Jake. By the way, Jake is, Timothy is here from Switzerland. I know who you are. God bless you, dude. Awesome. And AB said, that's why we must invest in precious metal. A lot of people are doing that, actually. Getting ready for what might be coming. And I don't think we used to call those conspiracy theories. I don't think it's conspiracy anymore when you see it happening. Yeah. But anyway, Jake. Well, Jacobs. And we call him Jake. And Jake has been, a sanctuary pastor, I think, for 35 years, maybe, Todd? Something like that. Yeah. He's been with us for a long time. And Jake actually is running the storehouse now. His background is in retail grocery stores. He's run some big grocery stores, and so he's a natural when it comes to food and rotation and all those things. And we're really, really excited to have him here. So he's been running this for us here and doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got Match on here too. Match, good to see you, dude.
Good to see you. He was our guest last week, and we're looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks when he comes down to hang with us. Yeah. Angelo, good to see you too. And I hope to meet you one day too, Angelo. Let's make that happen. In fact, come down for the weekend. Folks, this is the time to prepare your next road trip. And where are you going? Right here. Sanctuary Storehouse. We'd love to have you join us. Todd, we have people that drive for 8 hours to get here.
Yes.
And it's always so good to see everyone. Here it is once again, October 7th and 8th. And we start at 3 in the afternoon on Saturday, and then 9:30 the next morning. And My theme this week, or this time, a couple weeks, is agape, love at full volume. We're going to have a good time with that. And then our 242 meeting, which is Acts 2:42, teach, meet, eat, pray, and we'll be doing a lot of that on Sundays. So this would be a great time for you to take that road trip that you know you need it. You know you need it. Come on. Love to have you. Rickard, good morning to you. Rickard is a good friend in Sweden. He's a drummer. He's the drummer for Pantokrator, and such a great band. And he's honestly one of my favorite people too. Rickard, get to see you this morning, and he's awesome. Rhizone, I moved over to the Twitch stream. Good. Is it a little better there? Generally the only place I watch streams. How long have you had the stream here? Well, we've had it there the whole time. So, folks, you can watch us on Twitch if you need to. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook, multiple pages. We're on YouTube. And soon to be on X, on Rumble, and on Truth. We're adding it to others and more after that. But thank you for joining us once again. And Todd, thank you for joining me this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You're a cool. Now look who just joined us.
Oh man, hey Tiffany.
She is awesome, and we love her to death, don't we?
Yeah, she really is. Gosh, I haven't seen her in years.
She's calling us old friends, Todd. I think she's talking about you. I think
she's right about this.
because
she's right about
this, you know, I don't see age here, but
it ain't old.
But that guy,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Barry said that's a short 8-hour drive for me, and Barry has driven it. So
yeah,
I love it when people come. That is awesome. And Barry's been just a great friend of the ministry. And Barry, I hope you can join us again. Now, Tiffany says, hi, kids. Tiffany, that's better.
Yes, thanks.
Yes, we are. That's awesome.
I love it. That's funny.
Well, folks, we have an exciting thing coming up. And Todd, Greg MINIER is a friend of the ministry. He's actually here during most of our weekend things here at the storehouse. He joins us, and always good to see him. Always good to have him here. And folks, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, he'll be here with us. Greg MINIER, don't miss it. See you in a minute. All right. I am here this morning with one of my favorite people. Greg MINIER is joining us this morning, and there he is,
hey, Bob.
Live and in person. Good to see you, my friend.
Good too. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. So you have the coolest studio. Now I see it every once in a while on your postings on Facebook. But dude, that's a great studio, isn't it?
It's nice. Yeah. Once we moved here, this is the first house where I've actually had a music room. Before the music room's always been shared with, kids' toys and things like that. So yeah.
Yes. Now, and your kids are growing up. What are their ages now?
Yeah, so my older daughter is she'll be 30 next month, and I have one grandbaby and another one on the way, and then our younger daughter is 14.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so she's
Greg.
She's
Did you ever think that you and I would be sitting all of these years later and talking about grandchildren and a 30-year-old daughter?
I don't think that ever would have crossed my mind back then. No.
I don't think so either.
Not at all back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, you've had an interesting career, and you put things on hold for just a little while. Crucified, of course, is a band that everybody recognizes, and it was a great start for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great band.
It really was.
Yeah. And of course, I spent some time with, there we go, right there. Spent some time with Jim, as he was playing drums at the Immortal Fest this summer, and I love that guy. And I see him every once in a while around the world, and so he's kind of kept up a bit with other bands and other things. You did Applehead right after Crucified. It was I think you started it before Crucified was done.
It was, it was during the kind of towards the tail end of the Crucified. Yeah.
Yes. And Applehead, a little different than Crucified. Explain the music and explain the style.
Well, it's kind of funny. People at the time likened it to grunge, but most of those songs were written before grunge hit. And it's, I'd done that MINIER EP, which actually was a demo tape that Rex Records released. But
yes.
I'd been writing these songs that were different. They weren't thrash stuff. And so I talked to the owner of Ocean Records, the label we were on, and just said, "Hey, I got this music."
Freddie Piro.
Yeah, Freddie Piro. And it's funny, Bob. He had never heard a single note of the music, and I just told him, I said, I've got this stuff that's different, and I'd like to do a solo album with it. And he said, "What's it called?" And I said, "Applehead." And he said, "Let's do it." Next thing I knew, awesome. I was in the studio recording it. So no one from the label had heard a single note of it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I have to tell you a story that I've never told you before. So many years ago, and I think, I think we had just started putting the Vengeance stuff out. And I've known Freddie Piro since the Jesus People days.
Oh, wow.
Good News Records, and, because he was involved in all of that early stuff. And he said, "Bob, I think you're going a little too far." He said, "There's a line here that I don't think that we should be crossing." And he thought that, some of the heavier metal and especially Vengeance was really crossing the line. We had a great discussion, and I felt like it ended pretty well, but was very surprised when he says, how do I sign some of these bands? And so I talked to Erin, our good friend Erin McNamara, and she was working a little bit with them at the time too now. And I think she's the one that took you down there. And I was shocked that he had signed Crucified and that he had gotten involved with you guys. And but it was a transformation for him, honestly, Greg, because he wasn't so sure about the music until he could see some fruit in it. And that's a big deal. So for him to sign Applehead too was a big deal.
That's interesting. I certainly believe it, but interesting to hear. Freddie, he had no idea about really what was going on in music those days. So it's surprising that he signed the Crucified. Really,
it is.
I don't know if he'd ever even heard us before he signed us. I think it was. I'm not even sure how we got set up with him. I don't don't remember, but I know he wasn't familiar one bit with that style of music. He just knew that it was something hip that was going on at the time.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he was changing his mind about what God might be able to use,
Yeah.
which was a big deal too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was a huge thing because he was one of the movers and shakers, during the Jesus People movement back in those days. And he signed some of those early bands and very much involved with it. So for him to embrace another movement was a big deal. But you started there. He signed Applehead, and you probably created grunge before grunge was real popular. You were pre-Green Day, probably, right?
Well, it was long before that, because the first Applehead record came out in '92, but some of those songs were written as early as '90. Most awesome. Of them in '90 and '91. So grunge was happening, but it wasn't the huge thing that it became. So it worked out in my favor, because when the Applehead record came out, it was very relevant for the time. Wasn't what I wasn't meaning to have this relevant grungy thing come out, but it just worked out that way. And I think that's why a lot of people really latched onto it and dug it at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was new and it was fresh, and people were very excited about it, as they are now. Now, John, put that record back up there again. CD, excuse me. Record is outdated, right? There it is. It's a CD. The gold disc edition that was released by Rox Records. Tell us about the gold disc edition. What was the story behind this one?
Well, Rox had contacted me on that about putting that out, and I was surprised that there were still people out there that wanted it. Had lost their copies or whatever may have happened. So I said, sure, why not? So it's I got a copy of it sitting right here. Awesome. It's on one of those gold discs, and it has 3 bonus songs, songs I recorded at home after that would have most likely been on a follow-up record. So it was, it was when they did this, when they put this out, and I saw, and read comments and saw how many people still cared about this stuff, which just blew my mind. I can't believe that people, 30 plus years are still out there supporting and wanting music from all the bands they grew up listening to. So that's what led me to do this one. I mean, I had no intention of ever doing this thing. And then when they released that one, it just kind of got me thinking. And then, God really moved in this in many ways. Awesome. Helped me get it together. And so, this one, the light side of the apple, I'm more proud of this than anything I've ever done, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Yeah. This is, as a lot of, musicians, Bob, you probably know this and hear this. I cringe when I hear most of my own stuff. I do not like this. I cringe when I hear almost every song off this. Same thing with this. Same thing with the first Crucified record is possibly the worst sounding record ever recorded. I'll never play this stuff for anyone just because and people might find this silly, but it's embarrassing to me. But this, I'll actually play some songs off for people. I like the way it sounds, and because I recorded it at home and got to take my time and do everything exactly the way I wanted, I think I'm more pleased with it for that reason.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you call it the light side. Explain why the light side.
Well, it's the light side of the apple. So that it started as a joke. One of my neighbors, Chuck, he co-wrote lyrics. Actually wrote most of the lyrics on the last song, The Destiny, on this record. It's really 3 songs in one. It's a 13-minute song. And, you know, I didn't have a name for the record. This was early on into it. And there's a section in this song, The Destiny, that's very Pink Floyd-esque.
Oh, cool.
And so my neighbor, you know, Dark Side of the Moon, my neighbor,
yes,
he threw out Light Side of the Apple. We laughed at it. Well, I always kind of kept that in the back of my head. And then when it came time to name the album, I decided to go with that title. And then I met on Facebook an artist named Ward Silverman who painted this cover for me.
Awesome. Great job.
And based off the title. And we went through several drafts to figure out exactly what we wanted, and he did it perfectly. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Very cool.
Well, very cool. Yes. And it's the light side of Greg MINIER.
Well, I suppose a little lighter.
Light meaning probably the light of Jesus, huh?
Well, so the cover, I'll explain the cover. I've explained it before.
Please do. Yeah.
So the apple here, our mascot, his name is Henry, believe it or not. And if you look up behind the Applehead logo, you'll see a basket, and pouring out of it are apples. And then, you know, down on the ground, well, it's like a desolate desert. One of the mountains it kind of looks like a pyramid. And the apples that are on the desert floor are rotten, withering away. So the basket kind of, you know, representing God pouring humanity out onto the earth. And Henry there, he's not rotting on the desert floor. You know, he's still up there, and he's got this light aura around him, but he's still a skull apple. So in his death, he's been saved. So the light side of the apple represents this, I guess we'll say, this aura and just his salvation. So if that made sense.
Awesome cover. Awesome
that
cover.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So Durwood is asking, how did the Applehead name come about?
Well, we kind of keep that a little bit of a secret. Only a few people know that. I will say this, that there's no deep significance to the name.
Yeah.
But there are only a few people that know. And I think I want to keep it that way and see if people can ever figure it out.
I think that's good. Keep them guessing. Keep them guessing. Yes, absolutely. So, Greg, another question is, what do you have planned? Are you going to be doing some of this material live? You know, what do you do ongoing here?
Absolutely. So, Applehead previously was a true solo project, and it still was this time, but for the most part. But along the line there, about, I would say, maybe a year and a half ago now, you see there's a second guy in it now, Jamie Millard, who's bass player. Yes. I met him over Facebook, and I think it really was God sent. Because we weren't friends on Facebook or anything, and it happened quite. I can't think of the word. Anyway, it was on another Facebook page, and he made a comment on someone's post, and he had a picture of the original Applehead CD. So of course I Facebook stalked this guy and saw he was an incredible bass player, best bass player I've ever played with, hands down.
Wow.
And he messaged me and said, if you ever want to play any of those old tunes live, let me know. Long story short, we met up, became fast friends. I had already recorded all the bass parts for this. He came over and replaced them all one by one and did a fabulous job. So it's really kind of a duo now. He and I have, excuse me, been in the process of trying to form the band. It's been a real struggle and a constant daily prayer for us that we find the right people to be in the band, to go out and play, because we want to go out and play and have a blast and have fun and just have a good time. But so far we've had a real hard time. It's funny, the Nashville area, it's like, I don't know, I think it's a lot like LA in the 80s. You know, there's musicians everywhere, but most everyone's too cool for school, and they either want to, you know, play on Broadway and just get paid. No one wants to be in a band anymore. And of course it's harder at our age to find people that, you know, want to join a band. But we're looking.
And it has to click. The chemistry has to be there, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It does. You gotta, I mean, there are a lot of things. You've got to be a great musician. You know, you got to have good chemistry, because the majority of a band is the hang, not the playing. So you guys got to be able to hang out and get along together. And of course, we sure would prefer for those musicians to be believers.
Absolutely.
But you know, we just really struggling for a couple more members.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you brought Jamie with you at our last barbecue. Seems
yes,
like a
that's
really,
right.
really great guy.
He is.
And, excited to hear you guys live. Now, Ray has a question. He says, did Jamie copy your bass parts, or did you give him freedom to add his own flair? He's phenomenal.
He is phenomenal. So he came in, and I had to, you know, basically he played my parts, just took them up a notch. So where I played a lot of bass parts like a guitar player would play bass parts, he took them and played them like a bass player. There were several songs, several instances where, because I had those original parts so stuck ingrained in my head, and I knew exactly what I wanted in the song, that I had to, you know, say, Jamie, please play it this way. Play this melody or this lick. But then, you know, he still had a lot of freedom on it, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So he was able to kind of use his expression on the album too.
And it sounds like him. You know, it doesn't sound like he came in and played me. It sounds like him. I may have tamed him down on a few parts, you know, but so the next one, I'm already writing and recording for the next one. So one song's finished and sent over to the mix guys. So Jamie did a killer job on the bass on that one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So here's kind of a personal question. So Greg, you are surrounded by women. You have 2 daughters. Your wife is awesome. She's been here with you before too. And she just opened a boutique, by the way, and got an award for the best in town. That's awesome. You must be very proud of her too.
Yeah, she won 2 awards. She got best clothing store, and she got best women's clothing and accessories.
That's awesome.
And she's only been open for 5 months. Maybe she's going on her 6 months. So it's been really neat. It was always a dream of hers since long before we moved out here. but Fresno, California would have been a horrible place to try to do it, to tell you the truth.
Yes, it would have been. This is a better
out
fit.
Here, it was a total answer to prayer, Bob. We moved out here. For me, it had nothing to do with music. We moved out here for better quality life and to slow down. We got out here and we sped up. Her nursing job, there was more commute, more stress, more time. My special education teaching job was more stressful. We just weren't living the life that we came out here for. So for just about 3 years since we first came out here, she had her eye on this one little old carriage house building that was right on Main Street. And
Main Street in tell them Main Street where?
In Spring Hill.
Yeah.
So Spring Hill is absolutely exploding, unfortunately.
Yes. Beautiful place.
It's I'm not sure how many people are here now. Probably over 50,000. I'm not sure if it's gotten up to 60 or 70 yet. But there's a 2-lane Main Street that goes through the middle of the town. And then the town's just built on both sides of Main Street for the most part. So that being said, traffic is horrendous in Spring Hill at certain times of the day. But if you have a business on Main Street, that's a good place to be. So, we always thought if this building ever comes up for rent, and she can get it, then that'll be the sign to go ahead and do it. And the business that was in there previously, I'd been there for like 14 years. It was like a kids art pottery place where they would go make pottery. And they closed down the business. The place came up for rent, and we just decided to take a jump and do it. So Kim quit nursing, and we put all our savings into it and opened it up, and it's been doing great.
That's so awesome. Awesome.
It's really neat.
Well, the question I was going to ask you, Greg, is you have 3 important women in your life. How do they feel about your music? Are they fans? Because if you look at heavy metal, 75% men, between 75 and 80% guys, and 20% women. Not so many women like metal or hard music. How about them?
No, yeah, I think they think it's kind of cool and kind of funny, and then they could really care less. My wife has only heard the songs off this that I've forced her to listen to, which is not even the whole album. Like, check this mix out, and she listens and then, gives her approval, which really she's probably thinking, I can't stand this stuff. She doesn't really care for metal. Some of the 80s stuff she likes, but no. And then my daughter really either. She doesn't. It's interesting. My daughter is an avid dancer and competitive dancer. So she dances, 4 nights a week after school. She dances for hours and hours, on the weekends a lot too. And but the funny thing is, with all that dancing, she does not listen to music. She never puts on music for enjoyment. It's the strangest thing. Yeah, you would figure a dancer would love listening to music. She doesn't.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah.
She enjoys the expression, but not necessarily listening to music.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just a thing today with a lot of kids, because now they got their phone and they're entertained in different ways than just doing something while listening to music. Maybe that's maybe that's a lot of it. I don't know.
They don't have their Walkman and their headphones on, and their Walkman in the back pocket, which leads me to my next question. So when is this album released in cassette?
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I've seen some people doing that recently, but aren't the cassettes really expensive?
I think they are.
I think they are.
When they put out the 35th anniversary Vengeance collection, it has a cassette and a CD and a vinyl. Yeah,
that's right.
That's awesome.
I saw the unboxing you did with Roger, and I didn't know the cassette was in there. And I thought, okay, we're one step away from 8-track. I mean, I get vinyl, sure. Vinyl sounds different, but also with vinyl, you pick up the needle and skip around. Cassette, first of all, it wears out.
Yes.
You got to rewind, fast forward, and all that.
Yes.
So when's 8-track coming? Or how about we do reel to reel? That would be cool.
Now that's where I started. I started with reel to reel. And I think that's a good idea. So your first albums, Crucified and the first Applehead, came out in cassette. Do you still have some of those around?
I don't.
Have you kept any cassettes? Yeah.
I wish I did. I don't. I don't.
There's a big cassette graveyard somewhere where all the cassettes have ended up, because I think everybody would say, no, I haven't seen my cassettes for a long time.
I may have told you this story before. I'll tell it real quick if we have time.
Yeah, we do.
Rex Records back in the early 90s.
Yes.
So they released the first MINIER EP. Well, they owed me some money and funds were tight. They sent me this box of cassette tapes, probably 200, maybe more cassette tapes in there.
Of your album?
Yes.
Yeah.
What the heck am I going to do with these? I think by the time I got those, I don't remember if the Crucified was still even together, but I have no venue to sell these things.
Right.
It was probably
before
out of
the
date
internet
by that time. So I hauled this big box around with me, from apartment to apartment here and there. And one day I got so sick of hauling this box around, I took 5 of those cassettes out, kept them just to give away as like birthday gag gifts to friends, Yeah. And I took the rest of the box and I dumped it in the trash can. So, probably close to 200 cassettes, I'm thinking, just dumped them in the trash. So sad.
And you could have eBayed them and got a lot of money, probably.
Right. Someone out there still wants those. So
yeah, they're collector's items, aren't they?
Right.
That's awesome. Well, Greg, there's some good things ahead. You've got some plans for the album, and it's Rox Records that have released this. Billy and the gang at Rox Records. Bill, excuse me. I've known him since the early days when he first became a Christian, and he was Billy then.
He was Billy then,
when you grow up. Yeah, right.
Okay.
But anyway, great album. And folks, this is really worth a listen. The Light Side of the Apple. And Greg, they can get this where?
Roxrecords.com. It is also on iTunes, and if someone just wants to listen to it, check it out first, and then maybe buy it or not buy it at all. If they just want to listen to it for free, it's on all the streaming platforms. So
awesome.
I think it's you either got to put in Applehead Greg MINIER, or if you put in Applehead the Light Side of the Apple, you'll get to it. We couldn't do it under just plain Applehead. So either Applehead Greg MINIER or Applehead the Light Side of the Apple, and it's all in there. You can listen to the whole thing for free.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, folks, check it out. Greg, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome, and thank you for
It's great to see
me.
you today, and it's always even better to see you in person. I hope we see you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Say hello to your lovely wife, and dude, thank you so much once again. Don't forget, folks, here we are, the release of the new Applehead album 30 years later, and here it is. And You need to go out and get that. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate having you here. Appreciate having Greg and Todd join us today. Every Wednesday, we're right here live. Some big surprises for next week. Don't miss it. Folks, don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing. Go, go.